Hi, this is Bonnie Bird, host of Global Expressions of All Light Language. I wanted to say hearts. Oh my goodness. We're here, we're back after technical difficulties, and we're here. I'm here with Adam Wcislek, and we're here to talk about his story about how his light language opened up. And I want to, I because it was so glitchy and crazy before, I still want you to talk about you know, who you are and what you do and where you come from, and also I just want to know that this is a space for everyone to express all kinds of light language, whether it be written, dance, sing, sign language, spoken. This is the place for it. But with further ado, here's Adam to tell you more about himself.
Cool. Well, thanks. Well, thanks again, Bonnie. I appreciate that. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that maybe this is the time it works for us all, from a technical aspect. But yeah, so I'm Adam, the Black Swamp Medium. I am a psychic medium, a paranormal investigator, remote viewer, healer, musician, relaxation musician, even though I play other instruments. But and then I do a morning show of my own on Saturdays. So been kind of like in the new realm of things. I haven't been doing mediumship for very long. I didn't, have a lot of things growing up as a kid did, like most mediums. I kind of unlocked that door for down the road, as I got further in life when it was ready for me. But that's kind of the importance of, like, even today, what we're talking about is that, everything kind of happened, when it's supposed to. And I think that's what's fun about, the whole light language thing. I never thought, one, I never knew about it. And then two, I, was completely blown away the very first time I heard it. So yeah, I mean, this is just one of those things that is just kind of, it showed up, and I'm excited to, to take it further and see what it does for me. And, it's super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, to explore, because really it just, for me, it just keeps opening up and more things come, and different languages, different beings, galactic beings want to speak with you because they now can get their message through. And so it gets more and more exciting the more you do it. And I mean, it seems like when you're outside in nature too, it's really fun, connecting to the trees. Because even the trees start talking, everything starts talking to you. you're just you're just going,
Yeah, well,
okay, man.
wait till we get into my big story, and then that'll blow everybody's mind, because
Yeah.
I did what I could by just typing it out to you. So I mean, you can only imagine what it sounds like when I talk about it. But
Oh gosh, I'm
yeah,
excited to hear it. But I
yeah,
first want to say again, like we were talking about earlier, because I don't want to leave that out. We he was on the Hearts of Collective Change, which we're doing a show here coming up, just to let everybody know, on the
the
third, right
third.
at 6 o'clock.
Yep, 6 o'clock. Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, he was on there and he was playing the flute, and I knew light language was already flowing through him because we're all on a live and he's playing this flute, and all of a sudden I was in another place, and here we are live, and I'm off somewhere else, and I could barely hear everybody talking in the background. And I thought, whoa, I better get back down in my body because and then afterwards I said, Adam, that was light language. Oh my God. So
And that's what I didn't understand. I mean, I knew in my heart what I was doing. I knew, when I do relaxation music, whether it's, whether I'm just sharing it, just quick little songs, or whether I'm doing really a more deep meditation, where people can get, can go on their journeys, or self-reflect, whatever, they're into, they can use it for their advantage. But I take what I'm feeling at the time, I take what I'm absorbing, in from everybody, and I kind of just channel that back through. And so, my goal is to, whatever each person that's sitting there can get a little piece of something out of the music. And I'm just fully in when I do that, because I love it, and it feels good. And, I never realized, how much was going into it. And then, like when you said what you felt, I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, maybe there is something to it. So the more I played after that, then it sort of made more sense.
mhm. And just so everybody knows, well, I'm sure everybody here in the group already knows what light language is, but it's the expression of God's energy. I mean, it's just the way it comes through your body, and it can also heal. can do healings, help you with your, if you're an energy healer, it will help you with your healings, help you move attachments. It'll help you do whatever it is that that person needs, blockages, and open up their gifts, because, there's key codes and all the light language. And so there's all kinds of things, benefits that come from light language. And so let's get into your story, because I'm excited to hear that. So I'm going to be quiet and listen to Anne here for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, just so other people know that are getting, that are interested in light language. I mean, the interest just came from hearing Bonnie. She was the first person that ever mentioned it. She was the first person I ever heard do it. And so for me, I was just like kind of, dumbfounded, like, what is this? Because, you don't always hear of everything that's out there. And that's what's cool, is I'm open to whatever is out there. I mean, because, I can't learn everything, but even then I'm always fascinated on what people are teaching or what they are into, and what I mean, because it all helps us in the end. And so, for me, when I heard it, it's like, well, this is some weird stuff, and then, and then but at the same time, as it being weird and sounded different, it started, something deep in me started understanding it, even though I couldn't clearly transcribe it, but something felt right. And I was already on my way of, working through the Creator and God, and using them to help me through, some of my, whether it was mediumship, whether it was through healing. So, the heart's there, and it was just at that point, like Bonnie would told me then, it's like, just open it up, just open your heart up, and then it's going to happen. And so little by little, I remember one time hitting her up, and I don't remember how long it was, because I think this might've been like in January of like 21 or something like that. But I remember, a couple words came through months later, and I didn't rush anything. That was the other thing. I didn't, I'm a big believer that it's going to happen when it needs to happen and when it's ready for you. So I don't put any pressure behind this stuff. I'm like, it's going to happen at some point, and I'll be ready for it, when they say I'm ready for it.
Well, the one thing about light language is that it opens up when you've done your shadow work, and there's room for you to funnel it through.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely.
That's true too. I mean, yeah, I did a little bit last year, and there's been just a little bit this year. So I think that's the thing, is I've been peeling back a few things. And so that's been probably opening, which maybe that's why it's jumped this year, is because the things that I started last year and the little bit I've done this year have really got a few more layers off, that I've really getting down to the core of who I am. So,
Exactly.
But it was cool to hear some of those first words. And I remember how excited I was to share it with Bonnie, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe it. I heard it, and so, and then again, being able to watch other people do it, and be a part of other healing shows, like, what we're going to be doing next week, and get to hear it, I completely get to the point where I understand it. I don't necessarily clearly hear the words that, like Bonnie's saying it, I don't hear it instantly, but I feel what's going on. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I get where this is going, and so it's beautiful in that sense. And so, yeah, it just was little words here and there. And then this year, holy smokes, it just came out of nowhere, and it just kind of blew me away.
Yeah, that's kind of how it happened with me too. And it's your heart that tells you what it means. You
right.
Just have to relax and let it tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, it was a couple weeks ago, this is this is where it like all started flooding in. So a couple weeks ago, I was hanging out at my friend's house, and we had another mutual friend that was coming over, and I'm going to cut a few things out just to get to the point, but my friend, was going to be doing a session on our mutual friend. So they were off in her studio where she does her work. And I had a chance to walk around her property, which her property is like 7 acres. There's trails, there's a stream running through it, there's a pond. So, I mean, there's all these places that I could go and just be with nature. And I'm a nature guy, I do, a modern version of shamanism too. So for me to be connected, I'm like, I'm there, so I'm walking quietly through the trails and just, blending in with, nature. So, I mean, I'm not making noise. But I knew when their session was about over. So I looked at my clock and I realized, okay, I'm going to kind of be close to where, the studio is. So there's this fire pit, and I sat down at this fire pit, no fire, but I'm just sitting there. And I thought, I'm just going to close my eyes, maybe do some breathing, just kind of open things up, something happens, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. I'm relaxed. I'm chill. I got no cares in the world. And so I'm sitting there, but as I'm taking my first couple deep breaths, which helps me center and get into anything I'm about to do, the animal world all around me is going nuts. Like the loudest chirping and squirrels chattering, and it was like deafening. And I'm like, and I'm not moving quickly. So I'm like looking up at the trees going, what is happening right now? And I'm just like, it was loud. It's not that like, any one of us could go outside right now. You'll hear the occasional birds. Maybe you'll hear some squirrels, but it's not like a roar. It's a thunderous roar that was they were like all just chatting. It was like, an audience waiting for the main act to start, the whatever is going to happen. That's what it seemed like. It was just all that stuff. God. And so I'm like, okay.
They're all excited because they know what's going to happen.
And see, I didn't know what was going on. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to be cool. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to keep doing my thing. I'm just going to relax, keep, doing my deep breaths just to get centered some more, open up. And then I knew there were some squirrels in the tree right above me because they were like, you could hear them like talking at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. So I open everything up and I'm just like, what needs to happen or what needs to come through, what's going on? I'm not, again, just as open and as peaceful and calm as I could. And the next thing I know, I start hearing light language. I'm like, okay, well, I've heard a couple words before, no problem. But they started going longer, but this was the time that it kept saying, I felt that I needed to repeat what I was hearing. So in a whisper, I started mimicking everything I heard. And then there was a couple times where it would start, but I would keep going, but the words I was hearing disappeared. It like faded out. So it was already like channeling through in a way. And it was like, whoa, because then I was like, I didn't hear that, but why did I say that? And so
that's what it does. You're explaining exactly what it feels like. I've never had anybody explain it like that. This is amazing.
Yeah. And so what's weird was, okay, so you got the animals doing stuff, I'm doing something. Now I'm trying to analytically think about this like an investigator for paranormal. You're trying to rule things out. I'm trying to debunk it, yet I'm trying to talk and I'm trying to listen. And I'm doing all these multitasking steps. At the same time, it's still happening. I'm going, this is insane. But when I started doing it more, whether it was a couple words or it was a sentence or two long, every time before I opened my mouth to whisper, all the birds and animal squirrels, all that got really quiet. And when I would get done saying the couple words or the phrases, they would open back up to a thunderous noise. And I would,
because they were rejoicing. He's doing it.
Exactly. I didn't know what that was. And eventually towards the end, I'm like, okay, whenever I do this, they're reacting to it. So they know what's going on. Okay, I get it now. And so, and even then, okay, so once I started pushing all the investigator side of me and the trying to analyze it, I pushed that away completely. So I just kept talking, and whatever would come through, I would repeat myself, still doing whispering. They would go nuts. And eventually towards the middle of the end, now this actually, I clocked it about 15 full minutes of me doing this, which again was even more because usually it's been a couple words and that was it. Now I'm doing sentences and stuff and I'm like, okay, this is going a while. But I started hearing the translations at one point, not every single time, but maybe every other or every couple times, whether it was the words or the phrases, but I could feel and I could actually understand it. And I knew what it meant in English.
Was you feeling it or was you actually hearing it?
No, I was feeling it.
Feel?
Yeah, well, it kind of was because I was like, oh, this means, like the one was like, open your heart some more. And I'm like, why did it say, and it's like, they said, open my heart. And then I could feel my heart opening up. And so it was kind of like quickly going both, but occasionally it was just like the words would just be there. Like I would just know that it meant this, and I'm like, this isn't okay, cool. So, and the only ones that never came out where the sentences or the phrases, those were the only ones that did come out. It was just more like, I feel that one. But some of the short ones where it was a couple words, the translations were showing up, or, I could hear the translations like, oh, it meant this. And then I was like, oh, okay, I get that. That feels right to me, but
well, another thing that will tell you what it means too is that if it's not just popping into your mind, because it does, just like when you're communicating with mediumship and stuff like that, if it's not doing that, wherever you're feeling it at in your body, that's what it's doing. It's creating something.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a lot in my central area of my chest, which I do have stress and anxiety. And so that's where a lot of it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to help me out there to clear that out, because I have it so much. And that would happen to be a Friday. And that was, a day that I was just completely gone all day long. I was out in nature. I was hanging out with a couple good friends that are also, holistic practitioners and things. So, I mean, it was just the perfect combination of everything that day. And even then there was some other stuff that didn't involve light language, but it went on later, which even blew my mind some more. So I was surrounded by so many spectacular events that day that it was just a blessing. It was a blessing to be a part of it, to experience it. A lot of stuff, just.
For me, it was kind of like you all of a sudden realized you're connected to everything.
Yeah.
To the birds.
Sure.
To the trees.
Yeah.
To the Mother Earth.
And I always felt like I always felt like it because of what I, been doing for so long. It was just, I think it was just another little element that just added to it to make it even more stronger connection.
Just another layer of magic.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. But
it
was just it was so beautiful. And then while it's happening, I'm like, and when I got to the end of it, the animals all went back to just normal chatter, just once in a while, birds doing their thing, talking, but nothing loud. And then the light language just stopped. And I'm just like, I think we're done, And so I kind of wrapped up and I was taking a couple breaths. I opened my eyes again a little bit, because I was kind of opening them here and there, but I would open them. I'm like, okay. And then I just happened to notice, I could feel, about a good 100 feet away. I was like, I think they're done. And sure enough, I saw one of them, and I'm like, oh, wow, that was crazy timing too. So I'm like, and I went, and that was the first thing I did, was because I was so excited about it all, but I went running over there and I waited for them both. And when I finally saw them both, I'm like, please, because they were, they're really close to where I was. I'm like, please tell me you heard through the window the loud animal roars, I mean, the thunderous noise they were making. They're like, no, like, you're kidding me. It was so loud.
It was a symphony just for you.
It had to have been. Had to have been. But it was so amazing. I mean, and I would have never planned it that way. I would have never even tried it that way. It just was so organic, and in that moment, beautiful for it to happen. And so it was. I'm like, I love it, and so I'm like, cool.
But you know what? You'll find out that suddenly there'll be a reason they want you to go to some certain place and do some light language. And so you'll feel the urge to go there, and then you'll connect and you'll start doing light language. And if you don't do it, you'll be all talking and all of a sudden you're saying light language. And they're like, was that English? And you're like, no, I got to go somewhere. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I mean, I won't be surprised if that pops out, especially, I may not do that at work, but, I might have a little bit of, because that one I might be a little bit more stronger on. I might fight him on that one, but I'll be like, just give me a moment. We'll get to that. Let me get this out of the way here real quick, and then we can go over here. But around my friends and stuff like that, any of the healing or, holistic and metaphysical practitioners, I mean, I won't have a problem, going
on. Beginning, I wouldn't do it in front of anybody because it sounded so different.
Yep.
And I would have the urge to say it so bad that I would get in the car and ride around the block and just blurt it out.
I mean,
because my husband was like, what is that?
I would see it for me. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't even imagine doing it around my house, like, out in the open. Because everybody would just be like, what? But that's the thing, is like, my first time of finally doing that in front of somebody was a week ago this past Monday. And I was doing a healing session on a friend, and that they were telling, like, it wasn't right in the beginning. They knew all my guides, everybody was coming in. They were all telling me what I needed to do healing wise. But then about midday, and it was just right before I messaged Bonnie about this too. I was like, midday, all of a sudden they're like, "You're doing light language today." I'm like, "I am." I'm like, "Oh, you don't have to tell me twice. I got it. We're in." And I'm like,
Right.
I stopped questioning that stuff a long time ago. And so now if they say, "Hey, we really want you to do this," done, I'm in. So I didn't care if it sucked. I didn't care anything else. I was like, I'll whatever needs to be said, you tell me what to say and I will say it. And so sure enough, I did my healing stuff, what I'm used to doing. And even then it's catered to, my client. And then I won't, let her know too. I was like, "Hey, you're going to probably hear some weird words coming through. Don't worry about it. Just go with it. You need
I
to
always
hear this."
forewarn.
Yeah. Just listen to it, enjoy it, And so sure enough, and it was cool too, as I was doing the light language to her, and I was, I had her in front of me, so I was standing behind her, and they kept saying, "Make sure you go to both sides of her head." So like pretend like you're talking into her ear, which I wasn't like right on top of her, but I'd lean over the side to make sure like her left ear could hear me. And then they're like, "Okay, switch." I'm like, "Okay." So I'd slowly move over to the other side. And then another new phrase or whatever comes. So I'd say it over here. And then right at the end, they were like, "Okay, stay, talk right into the back of her head." And I'm like, "Okay." So, I said a bunch of more things and that was it. I mean, and that, was a good 5 minutes or so of, just the light language side of it. So that was my first time, here it is. I didn't even practicing out in public. I'm just working it right into a client session. So
There you
like,
go.
okay,
Because
let's
that's what
go.
it's for. It enhances
Yes.
all healing modalities.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
enhances it all.
Yeah.
Opens up gifts for people that they're ready for, and it will help clear the DNA, clear blockages. Um,
Yeah.
it just shifts the energy, it moves the energy, and
Yep.
it's just so beautiful. And some people
Yeah.
they sound like angels. They just sing it. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
We know people that do that, which is
yeah, we
just
do.
it's mind blowing to even do that. And so yeah, mine. I mean, obviously mine right now is just very mellow, and my voice pitches a little bit, but it's very low tone. It's nothing real fast yet. Everything's. I think it's because I'm still learning it in a way. I think they're giving me time before they start speeding up a little bit. So everything's been nice and just smooth and flowing. So there's nothing, real fast. Cause I know there's some people that go really fast. I'm like, "Oh, I'm not there yet. I can't go fast yet, but one
I
day."
never forget the first time because I always talk it in the shower because I'm in there alone, and I was just connected to the water and just going on and on, and all of a sudden it came so fast I felt like I was going to levitate out of there. I was like, "Whoa!" That's the first time it happened, but
Yeah.
it happens. Like sometimes, with light language, it'll sound more like language, and that's your ancient language. It's coming from
Sure.
one of your lifetimes where you spoke it. And then
Right.
other times it just sounds like clicks and noises and pops and you're just blowing air, and that is activation. And that's when
Okay.
it's helping you helping that person open up to one of their gifts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
don't know. That's the amazing thing about it. It's just a surprise. You don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I
then
think,
another thing too I learned was that you don't have to, you just have to intend. If you ask your guides, if you say everybody's nervous today, can we send some a light language to help people calm their hearts, and to just speak it, and that's what it is every
right.
time. You just
Yep.
trust that that's what it is.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
just amazing.
Yeah. Well, and I agree. And I think that's the big thing I learned through my healing upgrades last year was just that, you know, I used to have a stock thing that I did for healing. It was just one thing, you didn't change it, and it was all that, needed to be. But going through the upgrades, I was taught that you're going to use what's necessary for them at that point, because it might be that you might do the same thing a couple times in a row, but every time I've done something for a client, it's never been the same. You know what I mean? It's always been a little bit differently. Like even the client that I've been working with recently, the last couple of weeks, first week the healing was one way, then it changed a little bit the second week, but still relatively the same, just a little differences in how it's worked in. But yeah, you just you don't put any pressure on it, you just let it happen. And they will help you through the whole thing. It's not like you got to sit there and be nervous, like, I don't know if I'm going to do this right. You can't do that. You can't even think that stuff. You just let it go. And you're there for the right reason. Everybody's there for the right reason. Everybody's got their hearts opened up. It's just going to happen.
Exactly. And it also it'll just flow. As long as you stay in flow, it just flows. And
Yeah.
you'll start doing and saying things that you never did before on your in your healing sessions. And then when you're done, you'll be saying with the person, whoa, wow, what was that? It's so exciting.
And it is. You truly do. I mean, both times. I mean, whether when it was out at my friend's house and then for the client, both times. I mean, I'm like, okay, all right, I kind of like this right now. I mean,
yeah,
it's just that there is a true excitement. Yeah,
it's easier because it raises a vibration so much higher that things that you used to work at to help them clear, you just blast it out of there.
Yeah,
just like that.
Yeah, yeah. So oh, and even then, like when I even if anything, you soften it up, and like this past this week, things were softened up, and I was able to grab stuff and pull it out and throw it away, which was kind. And I've never done that either. So, I was literally, I'm like, oh, I can pick up this junk. And I was throwing it out the window because I was inside. I'm like, I'm just going with this. I'm like, I softened it up. Let's just pick it up, scoop it, and throw it. And I'm like, I'm doing it. So yeah, it was cool.
See, I always transmute it into light before somebody gets you don't want to slap somebody in the face.
True. Yeah. I mean, I knew where everybody was, because there was other people living in the house, but I knew where everybody was at that point. So I was safe. But that was the thing. I was just caught up in the moment. I'm like, oh, this is what okay. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to pull this off and just throw it out here, And so that's the whole point of what we're saying is that, you don't fight it. You just go with it, because if that's what's being directed to happen at that point, you're doing it, and, you're doing it for the greater good of the client at that time.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll start dreaming about other lifetimes and you'll see yourself doing the light language in another lifetime. And one time I was a warrior and I jumped right out of bed and I started speaking the light language, but thank goodness my back was to my husband because I was ready to fight. And he was like, what are you doing? And I turned around and I went, I don't know.
Yeah, that was
kind of pretended I didn't do it.
Yeah. You just wake up the next morning, get some coffee. It's fine. I'm good. Yeah. Yeah, that would be scary. But I mean, but at the same time, that's a really cool experience then too, when you get to reflect back on it, because like, oh my gosh, I mean, that's kind of cool how that works out. And, and that happened then. And now I'm just remembering it now, that is, I mean, it is neat.
Is that I flipped out of the bed like a ninja. I never moved like that.
I think any of us at our ages jump out of bed that fast, something's going on. It's not us jumping,
Yeah, it's just a whole new world that's opening up. Yeah. It's always been there around us. We're just tapping into it. It's always been a special gift. And I just want people to know that everybody can do this. Everybody.
Yeah.
And the only thing is that sometimes you gravitate to one form of it than another because you feel like you may have done it more in other lifetimes in that way. So you might want to sing it, or you might want to dance, or you might want to draw it, write it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen people's art, and just by looking at it, you immediately feel an upgrade. You're like, wow, what just happened?
That's neat.
So I know. So it's like the energy's there. The energy's there. Whatever people do art.
Yeah, and that's
art.
Yep. But that's a perfect way to describe that. I mean, if you're interested in it, definitely do your research on it, listen to these shows, check out other people, and just let it happen naturally. Like I said earlier, you really can't force a lot of things because your heart's got to be into it. You got to have intentions that this is what you truly feel deep down is where you want to go. And then it will build up, you line your path for that stuff to happen, and I wanted mediumship, and I throw out intentions every day. I want to help people. I want to be able to provide comfort, peace, on those that have passed over. And if it's a paranormal situation, maybe I can help cross them over to where they don't feel like they're stuck here anymore. It's just the intentions behind it. But yeah, if you light language, I mean, just immerse yourself to it, because the more you hear it, like I have, the more you get interested, the more your internal soul and stuff starts going, yes, we've been waiting.
Yeah. And
So,
and if you're drawn to listening to a certain YouTuber that's doing light language, keep listening, because
yeah,
your soul recognizes it, and eventually they're going to do an activation. You're going to be activated when you're ready, because it's always when
right.
you're ready. It's how spirit always works.
Yep.
So you still got to
Yep.
do your shadow work, but
Yeah.
eventually, if that's your intention to speak light language, you will speak it.
Oh, big
Promise you
time.
will. And they always make a production of it. Mine was, I was in a meditation that students told me they heard it before I did. And then I was started hearing it after that. And then I said, it's same thing kind of happened. I just all of a sudden started blurting it out.
Yeah.
It was so, but
Yeah.
but I think yours is so amazing to get to open up right there in with all the animals and to
Yeah.
coexist like that.
I mean, just
Oh my God.
a great way for it to, like, I mean, other than just a few words randomly, but just to finally hear words and phrases and sentences just all in that moment, and to be able to connect to everything, and to be in the headspace that I was at the time. I mean, it's like everything was meant to be right then and there for it to happen. I mean, and I was alone. I mean, I don't think that would have happened if I was with my friends that day. It probably wouldn't have
Probably
came up.
you wouldn't have said the words,
Yeah.
you
Nope.
know.
Nope.
It's so
Yeah.
amazing.
So
And
yeah, I
just
mean,
think though that the words that you were hearing, that's an aspect of you somewhere whispering in your ear,
true. Yeah.
telling you it's time to speak.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I'm trying to remember, because obviously I didn't, I thought about it at one point in the middle, and I'm like, wow, I should be recording what I'm saying, or at least what I'm whispering, because I wasn't saying out loud the translation when I did hear them. I was only just saying what I was, the light language itself. But I kept wanting to like record it, because then I would go back and maybe I would then remember what I was understanding or hearing at the time and what it meant, because a lot of it was just it seemed like it was more focused on me, because they, like I said, the first one was just like, open your heart some more, and I was like,
Mhm.
okay, and so I opened it up some more, and then more words came through, and I'm like, okay, and then it was just like, I know there was something with love, and there was just all this stuff that just kind of kept popping in there, and I was like, oh man, I wish I would was recording it, but I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to quickly grab my phone out and try to put it in record mode and break that moment. The moment was there, and you just
I
don't.
know.
You
Yeah,
just
but you'll never forget it. You'll never forget it. But you know
no,
what?
no. Yeah,
Here's
yeah.
another thing that's really straight. You have to try this. If
Okay.
you record, because I do meditations, and so I have to listen to it before I put it up to YouTube.
Yeah.
And so you do your own light language and you listen to it, you can almost feel the trails going down your body. And it's like, because it's your body recognizes it, and I could just feel it running down like this. And it's
Wow.
so weird. I mean, and you go through activations just like everyone else. So if you, like I do a group circle, and I do the light language within the meditation, and if it's activations and stuff like that, whatever I'm ready for, I open up to that. So every Tuesday I'm doing a meditation. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday I'm like, oh, I'm tired, I need to drink water. It's because I'm going through another upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it works for everybody, including you.
Right.
That's the main
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and so it's just been, last couple of weeks have just been a total ride and a trip for me. And so, I'm like, okay, we're going. And like I said, even channeling has come through, and that's been beautiful, because that was taking some other higher what I was channeling, even on that, not to go off topic, but even then was higher ascension beings coming through to me. And it was like, whoa. So, I mean, it was just, all these things have lined up perfectly at this time. And I'm like, okay,
It's
yeah,
because you open the door to the higher vibrations.
yeah,
More and more is going to trickle down through, and look, and Lionsgate coming. Oh, Lord have mercy.
yeah, right.
You're going to
Yeah,
go through some crazy stuff. Well, we
this will be
all
a,
are. You
yeah,
better
right,
buckle up, Buttercup, because you never
right.
know what's next.
Yeah, I was going to say, who knows what next week when we do that healing show on the 3rd, who knows what's going to come out of my mouth. I mean, I've been usually setting them up, as far as getting everybody in the right headspace and getting them all, quieted down. We're really, getting any expectations out. So I've been doing the beginning. And so I can only imagine if I get to do it again like that, I might have light language just pop in there after I get everybody calmed down. You never know, or I'm going to have to chime back in.
When do you think you might do it next week, but
yeah,
do you feel like you're getting ready to where you can do it in front of people?
Oh yeah. I'm not even worried about it. I think that's the other thing that's kind of been interesting, and maybe it's just because they felt I'm good, and my heart is good. I mean, I don't have any hesitation for it, because even then, once in a while, I'll still hear a couple words, occasionally. I mean, I heard some earlier today and it was just a couple words and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. And it's just, and so I could see myself completely repeating, what I'm hearing and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past that there may be some of the first times that people publicly are going to hear it next week. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yep.
It's like you just kind of like because at first you do just hear it and you kind of just repeat what you're hearing, but after a while you just fall into the flow. You just fall into it, and then when you're done, you have to, if you record it, you have to go back and hear what you said because you're like, what in the heck was I going on about?
Right. Oh yeah, that's what the occasional words that were popping up previously. I had no idea. I wasn't really feeling them. It was just like, okay, that sounds like light language to me. Yes,
But it does make sense that, if you just went through a heart clearing and because that's where it runs through. That's where you understand it.
Yeah.
That's that's where the information comes through.
Right.
And so it makes sense that, you're starting to open up to that. After, because we've all been doing huge heart clearings, and there it was like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, if not more. It seemed like before I would have to ask my guides for light language, and then I would have to connect. And now I just talk.
Right.
I just talk, and it's always right there.
Right.
Sometimes if I'm not paying attention, I'll say it. I'll turn to my daughter and say, when I mean to speak English, and she'll be like, "Ma, you're doing that again." I don't know what you said. Oops.
Right. That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. Yeah, I mean, if I get to that point, that's going to be hilarious because I'm going to have everybody going, "Are you good? Are you smoking something?" Yeah.
When you start saying it in your sleep, your wife will be like, "What are you saying?"
Right. Yeah, you're definitely going to be waking me up. Dude, get up, man. What's going on? Nothing. I won't even know. Yeah.
So funny.
But
wow.
Yeah.
It's such a ride and so much fun.
Yeah.
And if anybody else, do you want to tell everybody where to find you and what all else that you do?
Yeah.
They probably want to check out your light language and all the other stuff that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, right now the best way to get, to see what I'm talking about, whether, because I try to post several times a week, if not, at least once or twice, but this week's been pretty good. And then I do a morning show on Saturdays. So tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, it's called Mid-Morning Medium Chat. But yeah, Facebook. So if you just look up Adam, the Black Swamp Medium, you're going to see my logo. It'll pop up. It's the only one there. So, but yeah, Adam, the Black Swamp Medium, you can find me on Facebook. That's the best way right now. I'm gonna work toward. I got some financial stuff I'm trying to get through, so eventually I'll have a website and things. But yeah, you would just if you want to chat, if you want to book a session for me for like a mediumship reading or something like that. And even then, I'll probably be offering light language sessions. You never know at this point. So, but then you would just contact me through there and then let me know what's going on, or definitely come over and just, follow the page or like the page. I mean, I was really excited yesterday. I crossed 900 likes, but I had over 1,000 followers already, but I like the likes better because that's usually a little bit more weight to it, but I crossed 900. So I was pretty stoked yesterday. I was
everybody gets excited about that 1,000 number.
Oh man. I'm
near it.
And
on any of my pages.
I'm going to try to throw a party for 1,000 if I can, given the right time of year. So, I mean, if by chance I hit it in December, there's the holidays. I'm not going to party then. I'll probably wait till springtime when, we can get people and the weather's behind us and things like that. But I want to throw some type of party. I don't know what we'll do, whether it's just a big potluck or whatever. And, maybe I'll do some gallery readings, and things like that, which, again, that's something else that I do. I do a bunch of gallery readings. And then, like I said, I do readings as well and healing.
Parties? You do
What's that?
parties?
I can do parties. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, gallery reading is just, if you're not familiar with it, it's just basically getting a group together. I have it set to where, if you can get at least 6 people, and it's like $35 a piece. If it's small enough, and I'm talking, I'm not saying like 50 people, but if it's small enough, whether it's a dozen or so, regardless, if I don't give you a message, I'll have my oracle cards with me, and then I will make sure that you'll get some sort of reading out of it, because you got to remember, spirit. Not all spirits are going to come through when you really want them to. So I still want to make sure that on the smaller, whether it's message circles, gallery readings, that everybody walks away so they don't feel like they, missed out on anything. So, but yeah, you can contact me through my page, and we can always set that up. And, but yeah, I mean, right now I don't have too many more weekends available into the fall, and even then, once we get into the holidays, it's going to be even rougher until we get into next year. But, if there's a way to sneak something in there, on a weekend, we can certainly do that. And if it's not too far for me to, drive, because I live, and just to give people reference, I live in the Toledo area of Ohio. So, obviously you could kind of gauge where that's, going to take me if I have to drive, a little ways. But yeah, so healings, readings, gallery readings, message circles, music. That's another big one. So, I do go under a different name for that. So if you guys want to look up Adam Hawkins, Hawkins, Hawkins. And I have one CD out there. It's on all the major download places. You could go to Spotify and play it for free. But if you look up Adam Hawkins, but if you want the CD title, it's called First Flight, Let the Journey Begin. First Flight, Let the Journey Begin. And it truly, it's a journey for me into playing the relaxation music, because it's Native American flute the whole time. And, but it does take you on a journey. If you can make it through the entire CD, or, if you download it through the entire album, most people can't, which is kind of a good thing. I make people go to sleep. So
or off to
I'm not gonna,
place.
That's true. That is true. And yeah, so whether but I set that CD up, or album, to be what you need it to be. So if you're going to listen to it and there's something you need out of it, you just throw that intention out there and then listen to the music, and it'll help you through it. So maybe you got sleep issues. Maybe I've had people with addiction problems that have listened to it, and that's made them cope and not go back down the rabbit hole, or go down the, off the horse type of thing,
Right.
Various things, and just helping them meditate, so there's a variety of things that it can do for you. I've had kids, 2 and 3 year olds, their parents or grandparents have been playing my music for these kids, and it's calmed them down.
That's amazing.
It's that was kind of a bonus. I never even thought about that,
Yeah, it's really peaceful. I love it.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Anytime we get a chance over there in the Hearts, we're like, Adam, can you play?
Yeah. I know I usually got to I don't have them down here at my desk in the basement, but I should have a couple more flutes just ready to go just in case, but it's I got a lot to offer, and still, again, more things on the horizon. And so, eventually I want to do this a little bit more full time instead of doing a day job, so I can be available during the day. So when people want, any type of service, I'd be willing to help out with that.
Absolutely. And he's also a part of our global expression of all light language group. So that's why one of the reasons why he's here, because I wanted to start community chats with people who are in our community. And so if anybody else wants to come on and talk about their story and how their light language opened up, feel free to send me a message, and we'll get on here and have some fun. And before we go, I want to give a little bit of light language. We've been talking about it so much. I'm going to ask to bless everyone, and for it to give them exactly what they need in this now moment. So everybody just take a deep breath And just kind of ground it into the earth. Let every system, every cell expand. We ask for all the archangels of light, all the masters of light to hold space for us. And we're now going to give some light language that helps everyone with what they need in this now moment. Trishutru bokuru biketara bikete me shutru bokuturi miatri mina miatra bokushutru bokutri yatra bokuru yatra bikete be amikoro yashatra bikete bikete bekayatra. Ike boko bekata me shatra bekata bokotro biatra bekataria ikirara kita yashatra bokota yatra bokuru yatra bokuru yapikete yata. Shini yamakatata uturu kuriatata purushitri imikati okoro puka yashatra yatra. O purubakete amukushutro o kriata tai amukushotaya. And so it is. Well, there was somebody that was really excited about our conversation, is what I felt.
Yeah.
Giving out a whole bunch of love, whole bunch of joy codes. Oh my gosh, they were just really excited about our conversation. And
That's
they're
awesome.
excited to hear that we're going to do more. So,
Yes. Yes.
cool.
So cool. So cool.
All right. So I hope that helps everybody.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're gonna, after all that crazy technical stuff, we still had an awesome show.
Yeah.
So we're gonna sign off now, and then eventually I'll get it. Hopefully I'll get it up quick, so that you guys can actually see the show.
Mhm.
And so everybody have a blessed rest of your night, and until next time, namaste.